everybody, this is Tommy Love. How are you today? So yeah, this whole Charlie Kirk situation, it's been a week. And I know I shared it on my Facebook, but I did kind of do a mock, like a test podcast episode over it, but I didn't really post it, because I wasn't really sure how passionate, like the level of passionate that I was going to be at. I never want to come off as somebody who's outraged only because it's, internet, need for attention, yada, yada, yada. You guys get the gist. Um, but yeah, in truth, I was very hurt. This was a guy I enjoyed watching, whether it's through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. And yeah, the things he said were truth bombs. They were things that were needed to hear, not wanting to hear to a lot of the college students across the country. And he said things that people were afraid to say, especially, years ago when cancel culture was very intense. And I'll be honest, I am happy that Charlie Kirk existed. I remember 10 years ago, or 10 years plus, that some of my friends were affected by this whole social justice movement, this whole woke movement. And I remember starting, seeing the starting point, at least for me and my experience, with Anita Sarkeesian, who was like the feminist activist, um, this very smug hipster-esque looking chick who decided to trash people on video games and trash on video games and using terms like misogynist and rapist and stuff like that, or that women can simply save themselves. I remember one of my good friends using some of the Anita Sarkeesian terms, so I mean, like, I'm thinking, well, okay, I guess. Her and I are not really friends anymore. And which was a shame because this is one of the people that I kind of grew up with when I first moved up to where I'm at now. And so this whole insane woke feminist movement thing, or just woke ideology altogether, really affected me during my 30s and my 40s. So it's definitely bogus. It's a sad situation of where a lot of this led to. A lot of these angry, confused people. And, in regards to the person who did the evil deed last week, when I was asked by a few people, I mean, like, this is because he's from a conservative family or whatever. I'm going to give you my opinion. This is because parents don't talk to their kids. They don't take the time to talk to their kids. I remember I was watching a video of. I'm a gamer, by the way. I was watching a video in regards to two friends talking, and one of them mentions, Grand Theft Auto 5. Are you worried that your kids might get the wrong idea in regards to randomly shooting people, whatever? It's a game. And he kind of flips out, basically stating, this is what happens when an incident like this happens. People like to say, oh, it's because of video games. Oh, it's because of movies. Oh, it's because of whatever media you see. And the big thing is, it's parents not talking to their kids. Parents are not talking to their kids in regards to all this. They may teach a lesson. They may say, this is bad, don't do this is bad. But I remember when I was a baby, I was 2, 3 years old. And we watched the movie Superman, the one with Christopher Reeves, the very first legendary one, right? And I remember the earthquake scene. And I remember as a little kid, that scared the hell out of me, especially the school bus scene, because my dad was a high school teacher and he also drove a school bus before and after school. And so suddenly I'm like, what the hell, that sort of thing. I'm freaking out. Well, I'm not saying what the hell, I'm 2 years old. But like, I'm freaking out. I'm like sobbing and crying and stuff like that because, my dad drove a school bus. And suddenly my dad had to talk to me and convince me, look, this is just pretend. This is not real. And any time when I was a kid, like something scary or some kind of movie that would involve people getting killed on there or whatever, my dad would talk to me and say, remember, this is not real. Before I started to have like a little bit of understanding or what have you as a child and whatnot. But that's the thing. Sometimes there's parents out there, and maybe this isn't true. This is just my thoughts, so please bear with me. Sometimes there's parents out there that'll push, values and push stuff like that. But they might not have time for their kid. They might not talk to their kid and say, this is what happens when this happens, and this is the consequences a person takes. This monster that did the deed that happened last week, I don't know what went through his head except for the fact that he was down a certain rabbit hole and he didn't get out of the rabbit hole, and suddenly when the time came for him to quote unquote do something, he did, and it was horrifying. What's so much worse is the fact that a lot of people are just thinking with passion and not their brains. They're going on TikTok or going on whatever social media, and they're posting like smug reaction videos. And this isn't just kids either. These are grown-ass adults doing this too. And you're realizing, hey, dumbass, you're about to throw your whole career away because you just couldn't keep a certain opinion to yourself, And their lives are fucked. Their lives are absolutely ruined. All because they couldn't keep it in themselves, It all goes back to a little bit of psychology 101. Some of us might be too high up on our mountain, and the higher you get on your mountain, your mountain of life, how high you think you can get without being touched, that's where you're most easy to be pushed off. There's also those that they don't have a girlfriend, they don't have a boyfriend, they're lonely, they might have a job that sucks, they don't appreciate the situation that they have right now, or they're just upset about it, and rather than changing it, they have a chance to go home, be a keyboard warrior, feel important, and suddenly say something that they cannot take back, especially online. If you put something out there, it's gonna stick. All has to happen is one person having to see it, and you're screwed. Look at a lot of celebrities. Hell, look at Stephen King. Look at Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, his show was already on the crapper. People were already seeing how politically biased he was, and he was no longer sticking to his fun, his art. And I watched Jimmy Kimmel when I was younger. I watched him during my 20s. When Lost first came out and he was doing like the part promotion with that, I watched Jimmy Kimmel. I enjoyed a lot of Jimmy Kimmel stuff. And he just wouldn't shut the hell up about politics. He wouldn't shut the hell up about his views on things. And now look at him. His show just got ripped off the air because he wouldn't shut the hell up. So it's batshit insane. It really is. Anyways, passion before brains it doesn't really do it, me being an artist, I do a lot of passion. I'm very passionate about my love of life, my work and everything, but you gotta control that shit, dude. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna cut it down short now because at this point I'll probably be repeating the same thing over and over again. Until then, this is Tommy Love saying be seeing ya.